With just 4 weeks remaining in the regular season, the race to the college football playoff is officially underway, and as a result, the College Football Playoff Committee has spoken for the very first time this year. Welcome to Rankings Reaction, presented by Allstate. We have got a cast of characters here. NFL QB Matt Sims, Skubie Mageza is here as well, and the authority on all things college football playoff, Heather Dinich, joining us on the top of the show. Move some things around, but HC, always great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We got a lot to talk about.
We certainly do.
Yeah.
Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. And here is what the College Football Playoff Committee has released as their top 12 teams. Now, there wasn't a ton of surprises. At number 1, there was Ohio State. Number 2, Indiana. Right behind them, the Texas win for Ohio State is going to continue to boost that resume. The Big Ten has the top 2, but the SEC has the next 4 in this order: Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, and Ole Miss. 7 and 8 is where we find the 2 Big 12 teams, BYU and Texas Tech, who will play this weekend. And here's where things get really interesting. Notre Dame at number 10, the highest-ranked 2-loss team there. Texas and Oklahoma round out our top 12. However, they would be out in order to make room for the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. So a lot of moving pieces here. Let's start with our discussion here. At the top, Ohio State and Indiana. HD, not much debate about these two teams being in those spots. Did the committee get it right in your eyes with Ohio State at 1 and Indiana at 2?
They did, because Ohio State has the best combination of resume and eye test. Because when you look at the Buckeyes, they are in the top 3 in offensive and defensive efficiency.
Yeah.
The win against Texas looks better because Texas beat Vanderbilt, right? That's now a top 11 win for them. And then they went on the road, they beat Illinois, they beat Washington.
Right.
So you put together how they're playing, who they're playing against, and it makes sense to me that they're number 1.
Very good. You guys, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I just, going forward, right, how important is that discussion of eye test versus resume for that deciding factor?
Analytics, too.
Right, and analytics as well, because I mentioned to these guys as I break down the film each week going through these games, right, Ohio State, yeah, like, it is really impressive. When you put on the film and you see, like, guys like Abel Reese and Sonny Styles running around, like, it's just unbelievable how destructive they are defensively. Where is that as far as your totem pole of decision-making goes?
Well, and that's something that Selection Committee Chair Mac Rhodes, the Baylor Athletic Director, talked about specifically today when talking about Ohio State was the defense.
Right.
What's amazing is they lost their defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, to Penn State. They're just as good, if not
and
better,
somehow upgraded.
with Matt Patricia,
right?
And so they had a lot of questions. They answered them with resounding, authority against everybody they've played so far. I don't think they've allowed anyone more than 14 to 16.
16 points,
They're holding their opponents to under 10 points per game right now. Number 1 in game control metrics in FBS.
Yeah, and so when you look at the committee's evaluation of eye test versus resume, I think it also comes into play with Notre Dame and Miami.
Right.
Because you have the head-to-head, but you also have, who's playing better right now?
Yeah. I think for us, when we had our show on Saturday, Matt and I had Indiana as a number 1 team, just because when you look at all the metrics, the statistics, it depends what you lean into, because they're outscoring their opponents by 35.7 points. They're not just beating people; they're putting BTA, if you know what that means, and that on the box score on paper looks better. But to Matt's point of when you watch the film and on top of the metrics, it seems to give them the edge over Indiana.
But two points on that. One, the selection committee does consider common opponents. We talk often about the win against Illinois, right, for Indiana and Ohio State. But once you get past like 24, 25 points, they don't incentivize margin of victory. So it essentially becomes, okay, like, we get it. You guys are better. You didn't need to score 4 more touchdowns against them. I mean, that literally, that's a fair thing in the committee meeting room. So that is part of it, but it also doesn't have to be that.
It's overkill. It's like using your
point.
special in Mortal Kombat with this much health left.
No.
Signetti's definitely that guy.
He is.
Right?
But to the whole point there, Indiana, you could make the case, has the better win, right? The double-digit win on the road at Oregon. So that maybe could factor into that argument there. But we'll move it along here because I want to get to the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12. There's so many different conferences that play into this thing.
Right.
Both Texas and Oklahoma can thank Georgia Tech and Miami for picking up losses earlier this weekend. As a result, they moved into 11 and 12 right now in the college football playoff rankings there. If the season were to end today, though, HD, you know this better than anybody, they both would be out to make room for those final two highest-ranked conference champions. Mm-hmm. Right now, the ACC's highest-ranked team is Virginia at number 14. What does that tell you about what the committee thinks about the ACC right now?
Oh, they're in trouble. They're a one big league, and when you look at how far Miami dropped to number 18 in spite of a head-to-head win against Notre Dame.
And we'll get to that, yes, absolutely.
And you have Georgia Tech sitting there. I mean, the reality is SMU and Duke are still in the running for the ACC championship, and they're not even ranked by the selection committee. And when you look at that bracket and you see the change in seeding this year, that means that Virginia and BYU can be out in the first round. They don't have that protection as a conference champion of a first-round bye and a top 4 seed. So you can, in theory, have the best teams you have to offer from the ACC and Big 12. They got to win 4 straight games.
And you do believe that like a Georgia Tech football team can beat Georgia at the end of the year, go into the ACC championship game and lose and still be out, only being a one-loss football team?
No, because I don't believe Georgia Tech is going to beat Georgia.
That answers your question.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
It's a fair question. It is a fair question.
Yeah.
Totally.
But my question is now, is it fair to schedule the hard games at the beginning of the year if you're Miami, because you have the tough games early on and you won those games, and then you put your easier games towards the end of the season, but then you lost, and all of a sudden we have this recency bias things as fans and evaluators, and now we're like, you know what, that's not a good football team. So I'm almost wondering if it's better for these teams and these 80s and these coaches to schedule the hard games towards the end of the season, because if you win those then we think better of you. But, I mean, Miami beating Notre Dame at the beginning of the season, that should carry a lot more weight for the fans.
But also don't lose at SMU. That's a bad loss, right?
I love when you say stuff like that, because it's like, it's the facts, right? Just like take care of business.
Right. Well, and don't lose at NC State. That's a bad loss, too, in the eyes of the selection committee. So I totally get what you're saying. And maybe do it because we all know you're better football teams in November, too, right? The odds of winning those games increase, but so does it. It does for the other team, too.
Who benefits as a result of the ACC's precipitous downfall this past weekend? Is it the SEC or is it the Big Ten?
I think it's the Big 12.
Okay.
There are 3 Big 12 teams ranked ahead of the best ACC team. And one of the surprises to me was how high Utah was.
Yes.
I had Utah ranked in my own top 25, certainly not that high. So I think to consider the big picture, because BYU, I keep looking over here at the bracket, BYU and Texas Tech are going to play each other. Someone is going to lose.
Yeah.
What is it about Utah that you think the committee did put them as high as they did?
I think it was just the overall resounding way they beat a Cincinnati team that was still in the conversation.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they definitely put Cincinnati to bed with that victory and how dominant that was.
Right.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about the SEC. This is a conference that, according to our Allstate Playoff Predictor, has a 97% chance of sending at least 4 or more teams to the college football playoff. They have a 71% chance of having 5 teams in the playoff, HD. If we assume, and these are not safe assumptions, but if we assume that the 4 teams that are currently in safe place right now, Alabama, A&M, Ole Miss, and Georgia, if we assume that they are all going to take care of business and kind of remain where they are in the field, which one of the teams that currently is first teamed out, Texas or Oklahoma, do you think has a better chance of being that 5th team, or is it neither Texas or Oklahoma?
Oh, that's a great question, because they both still have really tough games ahead of them. Texas has to play Georgia. You know, this isn't a cakewalk for any of these teams. But look, you're one Notre Dame loss to Pitt away from this picture changing. And like we said, BYU and Texas Tech have to play. So someone else above them is going to lose. And if Texas Tech is the one that loses, they've got 2 conference losses and a much more difficult road to the Big 12 championship. So it's just easy to sit here and say Texas, but they got to beat Georgia.
I mean, Texas has been playing better ball. Like right now in this rip of highlights that you're watching, they're running the ball better. Arch is starting to throw the ball better. But to have Georgia on your schedule and then you close it out against Texas A&M, let's say Texas splits those games. They win one, they lose one, because one's on the road and one's at home. We've talked about 1 3-loss team possibly making it into the college football playoff. Do you foresee thou future as the Longhorns being that team if they split those games?
I think Oklahoma has a better case to be a 3-loss team.
They certainly do have a case, but here's the thing. We had a 3-loss SEC team ranked in the top 12.
Yes.
Alabama last year.
Right.
And they were in that dangerous spot and got bumped out. So as long as you've got the ACC and the Group of 5 champion hanging outside, if either one of those teams isn't moving up into the top 10, which is the safe spot, you're going to get knocked out, because right now what we're looking at is the ACC and Memphis outside of the top 12.
Big picture, just what team do you think was ultimately disappointed by their ranking after today? What team kind of got left out of this discussion that should be in it more?
I don't think they should be in it more, but I think Miami is probably just
They're the team.
on
Yeah.
fire.
Back-to-back years.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
Canes fans are just upset.
Well, look,
yeah.
losing two games in the span of 3 weeks doesn't help. You see Miami right there at number 18, HT. But look,
Right.
one of the biggest questions coming into these initial rankings was, how was the committee going to deal with the head-to-head? It honored it with Virginia and Louisville. It honored it with Texas and OU. It did not with Notre Dame and Miami. And in fact, this is the Notre Dame team that is 8 spots ahead of Miami. Thoughts on how the committee dealt with those kind of head-to-head results?
So I have to remind people that they have iPads with coaches' cut-ups of film.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Right.
this is football, you know?
Yeah.
And you're looking at it and you're watching the game. Miami is imploding.
Right.
You know? And Notre Dame with that defense and the running game and Jeremiah Love, like, they are playing good football. They got off to a little bit of a slow start against BC, but for crying out loud, they've won 6 straight games. And you look at strength of record, strength of schedule, that's all respectable. But, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, outside of Ohio State, they might have the second best offensive player in the country in Jeremiah Love. They are extremely committed to finding ways to get him involved in the game plan as much as possible. I think Chris Ash is one of the most improved coaches on one side of the football we've seen this year, because that was a big question mark. How are they going to replace Golden and improve on what they did last year? Boubacar Touré being healthy is a huge aspect of the pass rush. The secondary being as good as it is with Don Schuler, right? And of course, Leonard Moore being one of the best lockdown corners that we have in the country. I feel like that is the reason why Notre Dame, we have a little bit more trust in them going forward. And also, too, I just think Marcus Freeman is a very underrated game manager, right? This is something that I said to you guys last year. Like, he always seems to make the right call at the right time for his team, especially with special teams plays and getting an advantage. So I think overall, the committee just trusting Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame, and their brand a little bit more than Miami.
Pitt being ranked in this initial rankings helps a few teams. It potentially could help a team like Notre Dame, right, who still has to see them, Georgia Tech, right?
Absolutely. Or they could play the role of spoiler and knock them out. I mean, because Pitt has the formula. You stop the running game, you know, you play good defense on them. Their freshman quarterback is playing outstanding.
That's right.
They might be playing the best ball in the ACC right now, if we're being
very
honest.
underrated offense, right?
Absolutely.
Putting a lot of points on the board, a lot of passing yards, too. So, yeah, Heinzel is playing very good football right now.
All right, let's go to the Big 12 here. As a result of some of the losses this weekend, HD believes that this is a conference that has benefited the most. Number 7, BYU. Number 8, Texas Tech. Obviously, those two teams are going to go head-to-head in Lubbock, Texas, tortillas and all, this weekend. Keep in mind, this could be one of 2 meetings between these two this year, right? If they do end up meeting in the Big 12 championship game. But Heather, how will this game dictate the future of this conference potentially in the next set of rankings next Tuesday?
Well, because if Texas Tech loses this game and they pick up that second conference loss, then they're going to be in kind of a similar position to Miami, where you have a really hard time getting to that Big 12 championship game. You're going to need some help. But the ideal situation would be for BYU to make it to the conference championship game and lose and finish as a 1-loss runner-up, because then you're guaranteed basically 2 teams at least. And you've got your Big 12 champion, BYU is your runner-up with 1 loss, and maybe you get a 3rd team out there, depending on what happens with Cincinnati.
And we've seen the committee reward teams that make it toward their conference championship, because SMU was in that conversation last year when they lost. Were they going to get bumped out, but they ended up staying in? So I think it gets really fascinating when you have the team that is undefeated in the conference championship. Are they to lose? Then it helps the Big 12 as well.
Right.
And we'll see, too. This is a conference that, like you said, has a couple of teams ranked higher than the ACC's highest-ranked team. There's still a lot of intriguing matchups to play. Utah is still, as we mentioned, highly ranked in this initial rankings. As a reminder, we thank you for watching Rankings Reaction presented by Allstate. Now, going back to last year, I know there's not supposed to be any carryover from year to year, a lot of new members on the committee, but let's not forget these are humans, and 9 of the 12 teams that were in the initial college football playoff rankings last year ended up making the field. So which team do we think is not in the current top 12 will be there by December 7th? Maddie, you have chosen a team that has just taken a loss this past weekend.
Yes, and after speaking with Heather, I don't really feel all that confident about it anymore.
You can't change your pick now.
I can't pick, but I was going to go with Georgia Tech. And I think really just mainly because Haynes King, his toughness, the offense, and just what they do and how much stress they can put on a defense. And I really just go back to that matchup at the end of the year against Georgia. I do feel like that being a rivalry type of situation that, yeah, no doubt it's going to be a Rocky, right, versus Creed type of battle. And I do feel like they have at least shown the plays and the ability to win some of these closer games. So Georgia Tech is my sleeper.
Scoob, you go, then I'll go, and we'll get HD's thoughts on which one she thinks will actually make it.
I got to go with Vanderbilt.
She's not saying Georgia
Tech. Tough loss for Vanderbilt this weekend against Texas, and had they gotten that, it would have completely rocked the entire college football world as to what Vanderbilt has been able to accomplish this season. But then when you look at how they played in that game, they battled all the way until the end. Had the onside kick maybe bounced in their favor, we'd be talking completely different about Vanderbilt right now. And they do have good wins on their schedule. 31-7 win against South Carolina. Their loss against Alabama was a close loss when you consider all the things that happened in the red zone of that game. 2 turnovers in the red zone that ended up resulting towards 10 Alabama points. And then I got to respect their wins against LSU and Missouri. I understand they lost Bo Pribula for Missouri in that game, but only a 3-point loss to Texas for Vandy. You got Diego Pavia, who's playing his best ball, leads a team in rushing, throwing over 2,000 yards so far this season, and they have a 25% chance to win out right now. And if they end up doing that, their chance to reach some playoffs increases to 94%. I think Vandy has a great opportunity to do that. And just looking at the rest of their schedule, you got Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee. That seems doable to me.
That Tennessee game becomes really, really intriguing at the last game of the season. All right, so we got Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt. I'm going to go with one of the seemingly like 6 teams in the Big Ten that could be making their way into the field, and I'll go with Washington, a team that's 6-2 right now, likely not going to play in the Big Ten championship. But when you look at their remaining schedule, at Wisconsin, home against Purdue, and on the road against UCLA. One of those teams may not have a coach by the end of the year. One of them currently has an interim coach. And then not until the final weekend of the regular season, they have Oregon, and Oregon goes to Husky Stadium in a game that could very well decide who is that 3rd or 4th team in the Big Ten. But we will leave it to Heather Dinich to tell us which one of us is actually closer to being spot on as one of the teams to make it into the field that's not in it right now.
You got the right conference,
okay,
the wrong team.
All right, all right, which team? We got USC?
USC.
Okay.
Because USC has 2 good losses at Illinois, at Notre Dame, by a combined 12 points. They go to Oregon. It's the only game that they're currently not favored to win on the rest of their schedule. If they win that game, how fast do you flip the script with Oregon and USC in that ranking? And they beat Michigan. Otherwise, I would say Michigan. Michigan can run the table, beat the committee's #1 team. No, because they've never done that before.
They've lost to 4 straight. So, yes, that's it.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Again, oh, my God.
But it was a good try, guys. No, I'm just kidding. Those are good. Those are good options.
That was like a pity good try.
You know what? Honestly, from the guru, I'll take it. All right. I will.
Very good. Before we let you go, HD, is there anything that we should be keeping an eye out for coming up for this Week 11 that could play a part in what we haven't discussed yet?
Sure. I mean, I think there are upsets across the board, potential all over the place. Georgia at Mississippi State, giving everybody fits. Oregon at Iowa. It just feels like one of those sneaky weeks. I mean, I'm kind of tempted to say Indiana, Penn State.
Really?
Oh,
wow.
Penn State played Ohio State close early on in that game, and they showed us the talent that they have on the roster.
They had 10 guys turn down the NFL to come back.
Right.
They got nothing to lose.
Right.
I could be way off, but
We love mayhem.
I like it. Yeah, that would definitely be the start
that
of
would
it.
be
Yeah.
that would be mayhem. All right, Heather Dinich, always appreciate you joining us on
Thank
Rankings Reaction.
Thank you,
HD
Heather.
hasn't
Thank you, Heather.
slept pretty much since like September, so
Yeah.
we're gonna let her get out of here and get some sleep. She's got more work to do, but
She's not human.
That's right. Reminder, you're watching Rankings Reaction presented by Allstate. Don't forget, we have 2 shows on Saturday with the college football show at 8 p.m. with us. Let's take a look at the Allstate Playoff Predictor, and this week, Texas A&M on the road at Missouri. This one's a dead heat, 56% according to FBI to win in Como, 44% for the Missouri Tigers. Essentially a must-win / playoff eliminator for Missouri. But what happens if Texas A&M potentially takes a loss? That is where the Allstate Playoff Predictor comes into play here. Guys, let's do this and say A&M takes a loss at Missouri.
Okay.
Still a pretty good shot there.
84%.
So
Yeah.
it goes down to 84%. Then when you take a look at Missouri, it goes up to 21%. Previously, Missouri was at 10%. So jumps them up 11%, and things change all across the board, as you see.
What about this game, Georgia, Mississippi State? You know, no one's really talking about it, but even Heather alluded to early in the show, like, wouldn't be shocked if Mississippi State gave Georgia. Okay.
Ooh, so you dropped there. You go from 84% down to 57.
And then you see the percentages go up across the board as well, where Texas goes from 49 over to 54%. Right. So that's
and then
huge
Ole
for
Miss
them as well.
replaces them.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Another one is, what about the Georgia versus Texas game? Because we know Texas, their next game is against Mississippi State. Texas is on a bye. If Texas wins this game, currently sitting, let's make sure we reset everything here.
Yep.
Okay. Currently sitting at 49%. Now, if
Yeah.
Texas wins against Georgia, what happens to their percentage, Sam? Jumps up to 77%.
Pretty good.
Big time.
Pretty
Huge
good.
win for them, but still not guaranteed. Now let's say they win out. What happens if they win out? All of a sudden, Texas is in. and
Just like that, baby. We're rolling.
You're in. All right. So huge for Texas if they're able to win the rest of their games.
If they lose, though,
Yeah.
no bueno.
29%, right? And we still talked about them being a team that could
matchup.
maybe get in with 3 losses.
Scary.
But that is still yet to be determined. Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt,
You bring
Auburn.
that up.
We've seen teams who lose
I have
their
Vanderbilt
coach
as a team that can still sneak in there.
seem to somehow bounce back and play even better.
It's a good point.
And I'm just saying, Auburn with their defense, and I feel like Vanderbilt, what we saw last week against Texas, of course, a great fourth quarter, but seemed a little sluggish, a little out on their feet just because of all the hype and just keeping up in conference. So wouldn't be shocked either if Auburn with a big-time win.
So if they win, it goes up to 28%. Now, I had Vanderbilt.
Because of the head-to-head here, that doesn't help them
Right.
much. So.
I have Vanderbilt as a team that could sneak in there as one of those 3 teams earlier in the show. It goes up to 77% only if Vanderbilt wins out. Right? Nothing else is clicked in here. I think that's it's such a fascinating situation because
it is.
Playing with this Allstate Playoff Predictor lets you pick your team, maybe winning, maybe losing one game, or so on and so forth, and you can go ahead and play with it just the same way that we are.
Right.
Missouri winning out 90%.
Man.
Wow.
Well, it starts this weekend, right?
It starts this
It's hard.
New
It's hard for me to
quarterback,
really
new
think,
look.
though.
With a freshman quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he was impressive. I like what I saw from him when he got in the game, but it's just I'm just not so sure if they can hang in there all the way to the end of the season, right, with the way that they're playing right now. So
winning out.
Oklahoma's another game too, another team too. I'm just, man, you know, with their offense, the offense wants me wanting more all the time, right?
Yeah.
But we know how talented the defense is. What happens to R. Thomas Mason, right, and his injury and how that looks going forward?
Alabama loses one more game, goes down to 78% if they are to lose to LSU. So they still have an opportunity to get in there as a 2-loss team, as you would think so.
Didn't affect them as much as I thought it would, though, with that loss.
Yeah. All right, still a lot of moving pieces. The best part is you at home can do exactly what we are doing here in Bristol, Connecticut. Fans, check out ESPN.com/Allstate Playoff Predictor to check out your team's chances at making the CFP and using all the tools and fun toggles there. There are some changes that we need to point out is in regards to how the field is actually chosen here. 12 teams will be selected to the field. Again, the 5 highest-ranked conference champions get automatic bids. However, they are not guaranteed those first-round buys anymore. It goes to those 4 highest-ranked teams that receive the first-round buys, as we saw in this initial rankings. 2 from the Big Ten, 2 from the SEC, and then teams 5 through 12 will play each other in the first round. Home field advantage goes to the higher-ranked teams. Tonight's rankings are also kind of the first rankings that the committee is using these enhanced strength of record, strength of schedule metrics. And in theory, you would kind of see the computer numbers outweigh maybe some of the eye tests that we saw. I'm not necessarily certain that we did see that because Texas A&M, the number 1 strength of record, they come in at number 3. Right. There was an argument made on the linear show that Texas A&M could be the number 1 overall team, but that goes to Ohio State. When we look at the bracket here, again, so much football left to be played in the season. Yeah. What jumps off the page at you?
What jumps off at first, right? I love this matchup right here with Notre Dame BYU to start it off. I think that would be an awesome way to start, right? This college football playoff. The Virginia Ole Miss, right? Of course, just how the ACC plays out, right? And really, who is that ACC representative? This is
almost 2 teams that are similar in a sense, playing against each other.
This would be a phenomenal football game. I would
in Lubbock?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That too, and just Barron Moore and being healthier again, seeing him back on the field, being the starting quarterback. Their running attack too, right? And seeing which team wins in the trenches, I think will be phenomenal. And of course, just like what they've done in the offseason, right? With their free agency and how much they've spent, right? So that's really going to be curious to see kind of how that plays out. I think the top 4, they got it right. They crush it. How it is all filtered out, I really don't think that it matters all that much.
It'll work itself out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
that.
Oh, yeah.
How about that in round 2 for everybody, huh?
All right, where do we give the edge to, all right, if this actually does take place, right? Georgia, Alabama right now. If we had to pick it. Yeah, if we had to pick it right now.
I think it's really hard to beat the same team twice in a season.
You think so? Okay.
Now, given we saw Georgia do it last year, right? So it's not that hard. But I do.
Imagine the Georgia fans if they play Alabama again in the playoffs and lose again.
I trust Kirby in that situation, man.
The noise around Kirby and Roll Tide is going to be louder than ever.
But the defense has gotten better, right? Alabama's playing good defense. They got a good linebacker unit. They can cover in the secondary, right? They're healthy too, so that's a big thing for me going forward, right? And also, you got Ty Simpson, who I think, other than Julian Sayin, is probably, and maybe Fernando Mendoza, right? The top 3 quarterback in the country right there with those groups.
Go down one more, Oregon, Texas Tech. Say Oregon wins. You want to talk about rematches. Oregon with a chance to avenge that loss from last year against Ohio State. They embarrassed them last year in the playoff. This was a team that ran the table in the Big Ten last year, and then they lost to Ohio State. That's a potential rematch right there.
And you know what? Honestly, from what I've been seeing on film and how they look right now, it might actually be a replay of it again, just because I just feel like what they're doing offensively and defensively, Brian Hartline, right, is calling it perfectly. I think Julian Sayin's production has been phenomenal. It's like for a young football player to see the field as well as he does, right, and then to have the athletic ability to just really just drive it, right, so accurately down the field. I think that's a huge thing for them, and they're getting better at running.
They're opening things up more for Julian Sayin.
No doubt.
Because
80% completion percentage right now. Like, come on.
It's like, all right, give him some more. Give him a little bit more. All right, let's give him even more. But I feel like this team, Oregon, right now, with where they are, we know that they have a high ceiling, but we haven't necessarily seen them scratch that surface, right? And if they continue to get better, I think this week is going to be huge. How they play against Iowa, a team where we know they're going to have a great defense.
Yeah.
It'll be a tough road game.
Right.
If they come out of that looking like the better, dominant football team, I think we'll look at Oregon differently. And then, all right, let's go on over here. We're going to have another SEC matchup, right?
Man.
Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Lane Kiffin. Oh, my. You got to love to see that one right there because we got SEC, Big Ten, SEC.
Yeah. Now, what I love about this matchup, right, Marcel Reed, right, is playing great football. We had a chance to interview him earlier in the season. He was an awesome,
friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, no doubt, right? And so we'll be rooting for Marcel, but it's more so about the defense. Torian York, Cassius Howell. Cassius Howell might be one of the best defensive ends in the country. And I think ultimately when we get to this point in the year, that's where I always kind of go towards, like, which defense can affect the passer more. Not sure, but I think that the back end is that good. absolutely can affect the passer on every single drop back pass. Also one of those teams that can do that as well, right? So pass disruptors to me, as we get later into the year, are very important. Texas A&M, Ohio State have a great advantage in that
I like
field.
that move, Skubie. I think Notre Dame's maybe a top 5 team in the country right now.
And the reason why I said SEC, because we know Notre Dame is not in a conference, but we know that this matchup is still electric. Indiana, Notre Dame. Does Notre Dame have what it takes to stop this high-powered offense?
They can make it a game.
A few weeks ago, I would have said absolutely not. Now I'm kind of getting closer to like, yeah, I really do buy what Chris Ash is doing defensively for Notre Dame. So I really do. But Indiana, the way they run block, right, with Roman Hemby, right, with Kalen Black, the way they run the football, their physicality, the way that they get into 12 and 13 personnel and still are effective at dropping back and passing aggressively to Elijah Surratt, I think is a huge piece to it. And Aiden Fisher is one of the best middle linebackers in all of college football. So this really could be a low-scoring, old-school grudge match, which will be a really good matchup.
So here's my takeaway now that we've gone through the first round, through the quarterfinals. All right, like great first round, they got it right, but there's a couple of games here where it can end up being blowouts, right? Where you could watch maybe the quarter and a half, and then at that point, go grab a drink, make a sandwich.
Yep.
Right?
Watch Memphis put 60 on Georgia, though. You know?
Right? But then when we get here, ladies and gentlemen, look at these matchups. These are going to be so fun to watch, and
let's go through it, though. Let's go through it. Our first iteration, right? So let's do it. Let's go through it. Because last year, you hit it. You got all of them right towards the end. So let's go through it and see. Let's see how we get there.
Georgia, Bama. I think I'm going to go Bama here.
All right, I agree with you. I would go Bama. I just trust the fact that Ty Simpson will make the plays they need to win the football game. So I'm going to go with that.
Fair enough to say Ohio State.
I agree with this wholeheartedly. I think Ohio State defensively is one of the scariest teams in all of college football right now.
This is where it gets slower.
This is debatable, and it really is kind of just like, what team do you trust more?
Who's going to be harder? Which quarterback do you trust more? That's a question.
I'm going with Mike Elko and Marcel Reed.
Okay.
Give me Texas A&M, coach.
How about you? I'm kind of in the middle. I'm leaning.
One of you has to be the deciding factor.
I'm leaning toward Chambliss here.
Well, when we saw Ole Miss put up some points against Oklahoma, and we know how good that defense supposedly is. But I'm with you. I trust Elko in that situation.
Okay.
I also think
I was going to go Ole Miss.
It does seem like Lane, though, has a different vibe this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not.
Maybe because he's on his way out. I don't know.
It just feels like, all right, like Marcel Reed is a great player, but I just feel like Trinidad Chambliss has the ability to take over her game. You know those games where you watch?
That's a great skill group, too.
One guy just ends up turning things over completely. All right.
I don't know. By the way, I don't know that Ole Miss doesn't lose another game this year.
Oh, you feel like they'll step on a rake?
Yeah, you have felt this way for a while.
I think they could lose the Egg Bowl this year.
Okay.
I'm not going to.
No, you're right. You're right. That's a different game this year. There's no doubt about it.
Notre Dame, Indiana. All right.
Second time around, give me Indiana.
I was going to say, to think that Indiana would lose their first game, the playoff, that would be so disappointing.
This is my favorite game of the quarterfinals right now.
It is, okay.
Notre Dame and Indiana.
Who would you go?
I love this repeat. Yep.
I think we were all going into the playoff last year with Oregon and saying that they were like undisputed, kind of going to run the table. Right. And I feel like the vibe is the same around Indiana right now, and I almost feel it's a little bit like Ohio State, although they just won the title last year. I'm going to go with Notre Dame.
Okay. All right. You know what?
Are we going to let him do this?
I'm going with Notre Dame.
For the sake of today's exercise, yes. We'll do Notre Dame.
Let's make it interesting.
It's a good point. Listen, I mean, you got Drake Bowen, great middle linebacker, right? A phenomenal secondary, too, led by a Don Shula jersey, right? And a really good skill group around C.J. Carr, who's playing really good football, and not only the best 1-2 running back tandem in the country.
So right now, Notre Dame makes the Final Four in back-to-back years.
How about that rematch? How about that rematch?
How about that rematch is right. And it might be the exact same score. Yeah.
All right, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama. Who's winning this game?
One of the reasons I did Notre Dame, we went chalk the whole way. We had to have an upset in there because we know one's going to happen.
I got you. I like it. Give me Ohio State. Ohio State. I just think Kenyatta Jackson, right? Abel Reese, his ability to rush the passer too. Caden Curry. I mean, like, these dudes can get after it, and I feel like that's the thing. Alabama, too one-dimensional.
You want to have a rematch of last year's title game?
Hey, it's possible. It's really, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked.
Lord, I don't think it's going to happen.
And I do think they're healthier this year than they were last year when they played.
They got a better offense,
right? Yeah. You going with Texas?
You already clicked them. We'll go with
What was that? You're buffering there.
I thought about it. All right, so Ohio State, Texas A&M. in the national championship. These are two dedicated fan bases. It is going to be a loud scene.
And not only that, we would finally get to solve the Big Ten SEC.
Wow.
Who is better, right? Who reigns over all of the land that we see? So that would be really fun to see that.
Well, the show is ending. Who's the national championship? Well, to be continued. You're going to have to come back and watch next week.
Next
where we
week.
pick who wins the national championship. This is like One Piece ending to my One Piece fans.
Some of these teams may not be in the top 12 next week.
No doubt.
Back, so
well, that's why this is a fun exercise.
Take a mental picture.
We're just making it up.
Bracket. All right, we are out of time. We'll be back next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can catch us right where you're watching us right now. Also, tune in on Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern time to the College Football Show. Thank you so much for watching Rankings Reaction presented by Allstate. We'll see you next week, everybody.
And Trayor, I'm so sorry.